Hello, Jack. Thanks for joining us today.
Good morning.
Good morning. So you are the first guest I'm having on this show. I've decided to call it the MG Project. What do you think?
I love that. I'm honored to be the test kitchen, I guess, for that.
There you go. You get to be the first. You know, I'm going to rearrange.
Does that mean I'm going to be chopped?
Well, you know, the first is the best. So you have every reason to be hopeful that this will make it.
I am. I hope it's harmonious.
All right. So everyone, this is Jack Levy. You are, well, tell everyone who you are.
So I'm Jack Levy. I'm an interior designer in New York.
You know, I do that to you all the time. It's because I'm Israeli. Okay. I always call you Levy. Jack Levy.
That's all right. Jack
there
Levy.
You go. Sorry.
I'm an interior designer in New York. We do work in other locations, the Hamptons, Connecticut, Texas, Florida, California, etc. I've been in New York about 32 years. I've been doing this exciting career for more than 20, I think 22 or 23. Something that I really never dreamed of, but with all my life experiences based in school, and I was a finance major and a marketing minor at Emory in Atlanta. And then I worked for large corporations and then ultimately ended up getting into fashion and retail. And part of my experiences there were actually building stores and getting them open and coming up with packaging and shopping bags and tissue paper and signage. And as life presented itself, which it often does, we evolve. And I sort of stumbled into this business and actually fell in love with it, or fell in love with it most of the time. My dreams as a child was actually to learn how to lay brick, which to this day I still haven't done, but it is number one on my bucket list. And it just sort of all melded together to, I hope, make me a competent interior designer.
I didn't know about your background in fashion.
No, my background was in fashion.
Does that inform your work?
Well, it actually, you know, I was away over the weekend for a family wedding and had some downtime and was looking through a pile of beautiful, beautiful fashion books that belonged to one of my sisters. One of them was Oscar de la Renta, who I always had tremendous respect for. And since his demise and since, he has a homeware collections of furniture and fabrics, etc. And was through it, and I had an historical reference to him because when I spent my very early years in New York at Bergdorf Goodman, Oscar de la Renta was one of sort of our departments that I was involved in. And the clothes were always so rich and so layered and so beautiful, but so easy. And I think it does, it certainly affects how the process, the color combinations. I recently was watching an episode of The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, and she had on an outfit that was avocado green and purple. And I actually took a picture at 2 a.m. of the TV screen from my bed, thinking, that's very interesting. So I think, as I'm sure for yourself as a realtor, you get inspired by new construction. You see neighborhoods change and evolve, or you meet a new client whose needs are different. And I'm sure all your clients have different needs, but there's certain things that are similar through it all. I think same with fashion, same with interior design. It's how do you market it? How do you manipulate it? How do you meld it? How do you, how do we merchandise it? That was always one of my words. And still in interior design, you find yourself with 50 fabrics and you need 4, and 3 rug samples and you need 1, and 20 wallpapers and you need 2. And you sit down on the floor, very much like a fashion designer, although I'm certainly not. It's a whole different skill set. And how do you make it all work together? How do you harmonize it? How do you pare it down and make it for your client? I'm sure as a top realtor in New York, you're going through all the listings, trying to match them to a client, and deleting, adding, opening your eyes to something that might be very different than your original search. And as you go through that process, you I'm sure you nail things down, and you present them with a very edited collection of homes that fit their needs and might or might not have things that they knew they wanted or didn't know they wanted. And that's what makes you good at what you do, and hopefully it makes me good at what I do.
It's funny what you just said, because it made me think that something I tell my clients in the beginning of our search is, when we first begin and I don't know them very well, I send them many more listings than I think they need, just different styles to understand them better. And I tell them, I'm trying to understand your aesthetic personality. That's the phrase I use. I don't even know if it's a real phrase, but for me, aesthetic personality means that place when you come into a space and you feel good and at peace in your spirit. And that's
I actually am gonna borrow that one from you.
Yeah, do. Because I think it really,
as a designer, we walk in and we don't know what the client might or might not want. So, do your favorite colors. I don't know. What colors do you dislike? Purple, whatever it might be, red. Ultimately, where our careers differ, well, they really there's a lot of crossover for sure. Is getting into their head.
exactly.
Right now who has really said yes to everything we've presented to them. Things I feel very strongly about, but it's after weeks and weeks and weeks of working on bathrooms and tiles and colors, etc. In their heads and seeing how they currently live, even though they're going to live very differently now. I understood they wanted youthful, traditional but fresh. They wanted color but not insane color. They wanted pattern but not wild pattern. And I think I'm able to, and I'm sure you're the same, channel them into Jack Lee Design's head.
Mm-hmm.
You might one day might work, and if you go to our website and social media, it's all incredibly different. But I think there is some commonality in that level of quality, sophistication, and how it just all works together, harmony. And I'm sure, that's a word you and I have discussed, and I've given a lot of thought preparing for the first installment of your project, and it really is about harmony.
It is.
I mean, life is about harmony. So anything that is an extension of life, whether it is your space, the unit, the apartment, the house, and everything that's inside of it is an extension of your life. So the goal in life, I think, is to find harmony, be harmonious with your family, your friends, your health, your love, your career, your community. So I think really what we all try to do as designers and as real estate executives is to find the harmony. And the harmony for one client is very different than the harmony for another. And I think that is always that's always the big challenge, is to find that harmony. We approach a project, as I'm sure you do, getting into the client's head. What are their expectations? What are their needs? Do they have children? Do they have lots of out-of-town guests? Do they have in-law suites? Do they need an elevator? What is their age? What are their needs down the road with regard to maturing, is a nice way to say it. Are they going to have more children? Very, very, very personal questions. The same questions you have to ask. Can they be on a third floor walk-up? No, not necessarily. Is 3 bedrooms really enough when they already have 3 children? And they might extend their family? Maybe not. Of course, that means you get to sell another apartment and buy another apartment. I get to decorate and then get to redecorate when they move, but I try to think long term. And I think based on the price of everything today, whether it is a home or whether it is furnishings or draperies, we try to think, we're not thinking 4 years, we're thinking 14 years, we're thinking 24 years. People do move much more often than that. Usually the work that we do with clients are people who might have already done that a couple of times. So this might be there forever or their next 20 or until their children leave home and they downsize again. Which means always going back to the harmony of when they walk in with you, the realtor, and when they walk in with me, the designer, at the beginning of the project, the middle of the project, and the end of the project. And again, going back to harmony, an apartment you might show on the Upper West Side, a grand 11-foot tall ceiling with lots of moldings and tall, narrow windows, that requires often a different approach than a modern post-war building in the past few years with, great expanses of glass walls. Window treatments are different, carpets are different, colors are different. Where is the art going? I mean, you take into account all of those things, because to put Louis XVI in a glass wall apartment, if it's done well, it can be great. To put it ultra super modern into a grand Upper West Side building also has to be tempered with, I think, respect for the space, the environment. Again, trying to reach that level of harmony that it still makes sense. It can be creative. It can be based on the client's personal taste, as you said, their aesthetic. You just said it. Their
aesthetic personality.
Yes. So, it's taking all those pieces to me and putting it all together. Of course, then you have, as do I, the battle of the budget. And that. I've never said that, the battle of the budget. I mean, clearly we all know going into our projects and into our work, the people have a price in their head of what they want to spend versus what they can spend versus what they need to spend. And again, that's getting that harmony going too, because if you want a 5-bedroom, 4.5-bath apartment in a pre-war, top-notch, doorman, white glove building, but your budget is $2.3 million, you're not getting that apartment.
But let me ask you something. I tell clients about real estate all the time that Manhattan, not just Manhattan, but real estate in general is all about compromise. So the question is are you compromising on budget, on location, on walk-up versus elevator, on full service or not, condo co-op, view, direct light, whatever it might be? Real estate is really about compromise. When it comes to the decorating portion, once you enter the picture, do you find that it's the same? Or are you more able to just be like, then instead of this fabric, we go with this fabric, but the feel will be the same? How does it work on your end?
Generally, I would say we can compromise. I had a situation recently where something was very expensive. When we looked at it, we weren't really paying attention to it because it was earlier on in the project. And it was for some fabrics. Sadly, or not so sadly, they were remarkable. They were irreplaceable. There's nothing out there like it. Could we water it down? Sure. My solution was, instead of watering it down, where else can we shave the budget and come to a similar outcome in the other areas that were less important, so we could, in fact, go all the way with these certain areas. And the client agreed. They certainly knew, based on my reputation and the time we've spent together, I wasn't strong-arming them. I don't strong-arm. Sometimes I'll say you have to buy that, but usually it's not because of the price that I say it. It's something I so believe in, and it's in the budget that they might not fully understand, but it's my job as their interior designer to get them to understand, to make them understand why those two pieces or those two items or those two philosophies on a room create the harmony in the entire house. And again, back to harmony, I'm speaking actually of one client. When you walk in, there'll be certain surprises. Not, yes, surprise, but, oh, wow, interesting. Oh, wow, elegant. Oh, wow, different. And that's what we always try to bring. I try in every house to have one super special thing in every single room. And super special doesn't mean super expensive. It just means a little out of the ordinary, a little outside of their comfort zone. But in the end, they usually see my work and they've talked to me, and they probably know I'm going to do that I'm going to, they're asking me to create a home for them because that's what I do for a living. They might be in the oil and gas business. They might be in commercial real estate. They might be a doctor or a lawyer. They're not interior designers or decorators or whatever you want to call us. They're not style makers. They're not taste makers. And I've had clients who have the most beautiful taste, who could never pick out the things that they've asked us to pick out. So it's, I've been fortunate. I think you and I have talked in the past, and I'm sure this is very true of your business. So much of it is getting into their head and understanding them and being a therapist. And therapy, I don't know what most people think, is therapy show a weakness? I think therapy shows a strength, that you know you need help with something that is not within your realm. I don't know a thing about being a doctor. I probably know a little bit about being a doctor, and I know a little bit about being a lawyer, and a little bit about being a realtor, whether it's commercial or residential. But that's not what I do, live and breathe 24/7 for the past 20-something years. So I think that we always are trying to get into their heads. I'm sure so many times you're trying to understand what your clients are looking for in their next home, next 5 years, 10 years, or longer, and what's going to make them walk in. There are a million of wonderful apartments in Europe. What makes them walk in and say, this is it. This is where we're going to, raise our family. There's 999 out of 1,000 that would be perfectly wonderful for them. They'd be great. Oh, how many times have you gone with a car? Okay, that's fine. That car would be okay, but that's a car, not your home. I'm sure you've gone shopping and you need a new dress for someone's wedding or a luncheon or a charity thing. Okay, you've got 40 dresses. That one's nice, I'll take that. It's nice. It's not the dress, it's not the house, it's not the apartment, it's not the living room rug. It's nice, I could deal with that. The flip side of that is we often have clients, we have one now that we're changing some things after 10 years, and they actually really don't care that much. What we did 10 years ago is all still beautiful. Some things need changing, some things need rearranging. Part of the space we're actually reinventing the purpose of the room. What began as a large dining room with a pool table in the middle of it, 3 young boys.
Yeah.
The 3 young boys are all married and gone. So now how do we make that room very useful, very beautiful? We don't want it to have a big dining room table for 14 that no one ever sits at once a week, 5 times a year. So how do we make that space something that works with the rest of the apartment, again, the harmony, and works with the client and gives them harmony? So we've come up with a concept. We've actually been working on it this morning with elevations of 2 tables that can slide with hidden gliders and have extensions, so it can go from 2 card tables, because the client, she plays cards now. When I met her, she didn't play cards. Now she's later in life. She's still a very young woman, but she enjoys playing cards with a few friends. And then how do you move them? Has to be easy, has to be self-storing leaves, harmony, because they're not lugging things around. When you're looking at that room, when you walk through the apartment, through the living room, from the breakfast room, from the kitchen, you're not looking at this massive table that is so almost scary to look at it, so intimidating. And I think, again, harmony, intimidation, I think they're the actual opposites. So you don't want to, you want to be able to walk through the room or by the room and not feel that's a room you don't go in. Maybe when you were a child, I don't know about your childhood, we had a living room and a dining room growing up. I'm from Texas, and we really didn't go in there. as we got older, we did, and it wasn't intimidating. It was very, very easy, beautiful space. It remained pretty much the same my entire life. But I always encourage clients to use these rooms, to have their children use these rooms. I mean, you know, again, I don't know you. When I was a child, we went out to dinner a lot, so we could learn table manners and how to act in public spaces. When you raise your children that way, there's no reason why you shouldn't be using these grand rooms. That's just sort of an aside. But again, the client said to me recently, how are we going to make this room really work? Because there were some negatives about it that we've tried to make positives in the past few days. She goes, if I can't have a card table, I'll have to compromise, as you just brought up. I said, well, hopefully you're not going to have to compromise. So we went back and forth after that meeting, and again this morning before my debut with you, about how to make that work. And I think we've sort of figured out the original plan was the right plan. Technical things about where the chandeliers line up once you push the tables together. And I said to my assistant, let's shorten the chandeliers and let's put a 6'2" man at the end of the table and see where his head is and how far away his head is from the edge of the chandelier.
Yeah.
Clearly to make sure no one bumps their head on the light fixture. So now, once I've asked him to do that, we've gone through and adjusted it. Now I can go back to the client and say, ideal one is the one to use. And they say, okay. When we left last, they said, we're stifling you. You go tell us what we should do. And now I'm going to go back and tell them what you should do is what you asked for originally, which is that sort of kind of fun when you.
Yeah, yeah. So I have a question. Let's take a typical room, and every home is going to have a living room. And we're talking about harmony. So are there specific designs when it comes to placement of furniture that you go into a home knowing that these are the various designs, but you're going to figure out different styles and different colors?
Yes.
The design element more or less stays the same?
Yes. I mean, I think certain rooms could have 4 different furniture plans. But when you walk into a room that has a fireplace, something has to face that fireplace, or it has to flank that fireplace. A love seat left and right, or a sofa facing that. And then you need other chairs. We find that everyone wants a big sectional, but I personally think people don't, more than 3 or 4 people don't sit on a big section. People like their little space. They like their club chair where they're all alone. A mom and dad and 1 kid lying on a sectional watching TV is one thing versus us going over for lunch. We don't want to be sitting so close to everybody. Okay, let's say you're typically looking, facing the fireplace. Do I like to walk into the back of the sofa? Not really, unless the back of the sofa is interesting. So then you put a sofa table behind it. Okay, well now you've got a table with 2 lamps, now what? Oh, then there's an opportunity to put 2 benches or stools underneath that sofa table. Why? It's pretty, it's fabric, wooden, fabric, or metal or glass, whatever. And then you're getting a textile which softens it, and a lampshade which softens it. But at the same time, you're adding 2 more seats in that room that you don't have to look at all the time. You pull them out and you use them. So we're always looking for versatility. How many more stools can we get? Can we get another side table in? Where are the standing lamps? Are there too many lamps? Are there not enough lamps? So I try to think about, sort of a checklist in my head. What's it look like when you walk in? How many people can be in there? How many people are going to be using it daily or monthly or weekly or only on special holidays? Clearly, if it's only on special holidays, the room doesn't have to function quite the way the room has to function if you're in there all the time. So I go through those questions in my head. Do you want to watch TV when you're in this room or that room? Is it okay to see the TV? So many people are wrapped up in, I don't want to look at, TVs are ugly. Okay, well, you know what? So are toilets. We need them. Who cares? So you see certain people, it must be behind a hidden mirror, et cetera. So we've done that all. What do you do when you walk into a room that doesn't have a fireplace and has no focal point? Well, you put a large painting and then you flank the large painting with seating left and seating right, and you create something. Or the windows on the right of the room, so you base the major on the left side of the room and you build around that. So that's what gives that excitement. And again, harmony. I think if a room's well done, you walk in and you're not confused by which way do I walk in? Where do I sit down? What am I facing? And how the different areas commingle. How you've got a group of 4 people on one side of the room, 2 people on the other side of the room, and what connects them? Well, it's the coffee table, it's the rug, it's the stuff you touch, the color, the pattern, and that's how you sort of meld it all together and create that harmony. But I also think with harmony, and correct me if you disagree, sometimes with harmony, you don't want it all so perfectly harmonious, because it's like sometimes something's too pretty. It's too perfect. Well, that doesn't have a lot of personality.
You don't want to live in a museum.
I don't want to live in a museum, and I don't want my clients to live in a showroom.
Yeah.
If you walk into a furniture showroom, it's all so perfect, down to every vase matching, every ashtray, every lamp, every knickknack, the coffee table books match the fabric on the sofa. Well, I think that is so not the way people live. Guess what? People do put keys on a table. I mean, I don't know. Do I do it? Sure. Do I walk into my client's house and see keys and a pair of gloves on a center hall table? Yes. Do I love it? No, but I'm not photographing at that moment. People actually live there. And I think that's super important to remember. People live there. A lot of times people talk about, what should our bedspreads be? Well, how do you use your bedroom? Do you lie in bed all day on the weekends? Do the dogs sleep on the bed? Do the babies crawl up on the bed with you? If all that is the case, you don't spend hundreds and hundreds or thousands and thousands of dollars on a custom bedspread that every night you have to turn down and put away, because that's not very harmonious. You want something that you can put in the washing machine, or you can press it and freshen it up, or you can put shams in front of the pillows and throw at the end of the bed when you're having company, so you don't have to go iron all of your sheets. So I mean, again, I think harmony also begets practicality.
Right.
Practical. I mean, we've done some, incredible homes, really beautiful. Some very formal, some very casual. But people still have to live there and have to be able to use it and not be afraid to touch it. And I was with some friends over the week at a wedding, and I remember this young girl who's a dear old friend, friends for 50-something years, that she and her siblings weren't allowed to sit on their bed in their bedrooms. And they actually didn't have a family room. They had a playroom, a little playroom, and a living room. And they weren't allowed to sit on their beds because the bedspreads matched the drapes, matched the hand-painted flowers on the furniture, and matched the wallpaper. We grew up differently. I mean, we had bedspreads. That was in the 60s, and they were all custom made, et cetera, but it wasn't something that was so precious. And we also had a big family room where we could do whatever we wanted. Nothing was, not allowed. You didn't necessarily, eat in the family room or drink, anything. You didn't drink grape soda in the family room. You drank grape soda at the breakfast table. And
that reminds me. Have you ever seen the movie Regarding Henry?
Yes.
I think what's really funny there is, in my home growing up, the one precious item in the home that we had was the piano. Like, you do not eat or drink by the piano, and everything else was fine. But the piano was a living instrument, a piece of art, all rolled, a beautiful moment in history. One of them is this antique, like it's over 100 years old, still plays beautifully, although it probably needs some work. But so that was like, the piano room was its own little microcosm in the house. And it was funny watching Regarding Henry, where the daughter spills grape juice in the beginning all over the piano, and that's kind of the beginning of the story. Because in my home, like, I know what would happen if one of us
It wouldn't be great.
went near the room with the grape juice.
It
But
wouldn't be great.
it's funny, you have boundaries in your life, but to have a boundary on the bedspread is an interesting, when you're talking about
That's why at Japanese Design we don't encourage custom bedspreads anymore, because perhaps from my childhood, seeing how other people had to, stay away from it. Like, not that they were scared of it, but it's like, what does a kid do in their room? They lay on their bed, or they sit at their desk and they do their homework, or they lay on their bed and do their homework and read and, doodle with a sharp with flare marks a lot. And great when you get that on a set of sheets. It's one thing, you can probably get it out. Getting on a custom made bedspread, then you're toast. And we don't want, and the point being, we don't want our clients or anyone in their families to ever feel that way about something. We're doing for a client right now a new breakfast table, and it's going to be distressed like crazy. It's already going to be pre-beaten up, and the way, I'm not sure exactly how they do it now. In the olden days, they would take a mesh bag of nails and bang it on the wood before they put the finish on it. And they would take a chain and bang it on the wood so you get the little dents and the little nicks and the little holes, and then they would air gun it off, and then they'd start the finishing process. And I think sometimes I like sand, and they'll do it again till you get just the right amount of stressing, because it's like a new car. Like, you have a new car, you go shopping, you're a day in the country, and you stop off at, I don't know, Bed Bath Beyond or TJ Maxx, or, one of those things that you don't want to do in New York because you're going by taxi cab. Something to do. And you walk out, and there's your first big scratch on your brand new car. It's like, couldn't I have scratched it? Someone else had to scratch it. It's like when you have clients with young children, someone's going to drop a fork on that table, and it's going to put a little ding in it. Well, so let's think about how we can not avoid dropping the fork, because the fork's going to drop. Like the shoe drops, the fork drops. How you make it, not a catastrophic incident. Yeah, it's like the piano. No grape soda.
no grape.
Let the run. No grape soda.
Jack, thank you so
Thankfully,
much.
I don't even like it. I don't even like grapes.
You don't
I
even
don't like grapes.
But what are you drinking? It's like a big gulp.
My dirty little secret. Oh, thank heaven for 7-Eleven.
There you go.
About 4 times a week, I have a big gulp, not the double big gulp, a big gulp of Diet Pepsi. Can't be Diet Coke, can only be had out of a plastic cup with ice. I can't drink it out of a glass. It has to have a straw. And it's a new fetish of mine. I used to be a big soda drinker for years, and sometimes I just need a Diet Pepsi.
There it is. Sometimes you just need it. Jack, thank you for joining us. I can already think of other topics I want to talk to you another time, so hopefully you'll come back.
I actually didn't even get very nervous about this, so.
That's good. Is this your first interview in this kind of setting where you're being recorded?
No, I actually have, I have been interviewed and been on television for some magazines, for some show houses and things. And I was told that I was very, telefanatic?
Mm-hmm.
Isn't on TV. And years and years ago, I was on a television show, short-lived, and it was created by BBC America for the Learning Channel.
Okay.
And it was called Material World. And there were 4 interior designers in Los Angeles and 4 in New York, and they followed us around for 9 months and would film us. And film us a lot with our client. I mean, they wanted to film me getting my hair cut. I said, okay, fine. As long as you're paying for that haircut, that's fine. And of course, like most of us, and I'm sure even Brad Pitt probably gets like nauseous when he looks at himself on film. I don't like the way I sound on it. I don't like the way I look on it, but I'm not really frightened by it. So, you know, that show was great. I heard it was very big in Asia and Saudi Arabia. TLC canceled it after a while, after they had actually filmed it all, because it was too aspirational.
Interesting. Yeah.
Too aspirational. And they were, and so then they, you know, they had tattoo shows and, you know, rebuilding jalopy. So I think they were very wrong, and it was probably a premature decision apart based on how
with how
the world
has
is now.
developed. Yeah, it's very interesting. Jack, thanks so much for joining us.
My pleasure. Thank you.